So, if you want to sell a lie and you really want to sell it good, there needs to be a grain of truth in there. I don't know who said that. My wife says it a lot. I think she read it in a book somewhere. But I find it pretty interesting because the lies I have seen sold the best did have a grain of truth. So I'm going to talk about the grain of truth in trans ideology. The reason trans ideology has been sold so well is because there is some truth that in there, and that truth is that some people exhibit masculine or feminine behaviors that do not align with their sex. And what I mean by that, and I think a perfect example is going to be mostly homosexuals. Everybody knows a little gay boy when they see one, I guess, an effeminate boy, young too, very young. I've seen parents be very hard on effeminate boys, because what those parents are thinking is, he's gay, or he's homosexual, or he's not acting right. And this little boy, and we can say a little girl who's exhibiting more masculine traits or being a tomboy, they could look at this kid and go, the kid's dressing in boys' clothes. Let's take a boy, for example. The boy's dressing in boys' clothes. The boy is doing what he's told, say. Like maybe he plays sports like a boy should. He's doing all these things, yet people are still picking up that there's a difference there. They're still picking up that his mannerisms, maybe his way of speaking, his way of walking, carrying himself, is not aligning with the vast majority of the way other boys do. There's a difference there. People will pick up on differences like that. I mean, we are like evolutionarily primed to do that for reasons. And the same thing with masculine girls, girls that are tomboys, and oftentimes, and sometimes these tomboys grow up to be butch women. Same thing, from my own personal experience, I would be categorized as a tomboy pretty early. By the time I was 8 or 9, I was already getting harassed, shunned, made fun of by my peers in classes at school for being masculine, for acting like a boy or wanting to be a boy. They picked that up on me. I wasn't wearing boys' clothes. My mother never let me wear boys' clothes. I didn't have short hair. I was dressing and looking like a girl, feminine. But there was something there that they picked up on that wasn't like the other girls. And I knew it too. I could see I was with the girls. I looked around and saw that there was something different about me. And I think that's an experience that effeminate men also have. Most are gay men. And I think they probably have similar experiences of knowing pretty early they're different, getting picked on pretty early that they're different. So what is that? What is that difference? We might call it gender. I mean, if we were going to say that gender and sex are two different things, then yes, your biological sex is your sex and your gender is something else. It is a little bit spiritual, I guess. It's energy. It's this thing we can't exactly define. But there's lots of stuff humans can't define and we don't understand. It doesn't mean it does not exist. It also doesn't mean that we aren't wrong about why we think it exists or how we negotiate that it exists. But the fact is that what trans ideology is saying is that there is something else that exists outside of sex, this gender that is different, and people, we see it. And I think there's truth there. This doesn't, however, mean that because you're a masculine woman or a feminine man means that you are the opposite sex. And you know, it's funny because even sometimes they will get themselves confused by saying sex and gender are different, but then saying they're the same thing too, where the sex doesn't exist. And that's all bullshit. But they sold that. They were able to sell that because people know that there is something else outside of just your biological sex that happens. Now, masculinity and femininity, I don't view it so much as the way you dress or the way you look or even sex stereotypes. I mean, I don't think masculinity is necessarily being dominant or aggressive. There's plenty of very feminine women who are dominant and aggressive. That's not what I'm talking about, because those are stereotypes. I'm talking more about, I would categorize it more as mannerisms, a kind of energy, a way of speaking sometimes. I mean, there's such a thing as gay voice. A lot of lesbians have it. You can just like tell by the way we talk, our cadence of our voice, our speech patterns. It usually holds true with lesbians. My wife talks about it all the time. It's really funny. I don't know, just sidetracked. The other day we were at the McDonald's drive-thru and the woman taking her order, she sounded gay. We got to the window and my wife's like, how funny. She sounded gay, but she wasn't. She sounded like a lesbian, but she's not. I'm like, well, how can you tell she's not a lesbian? My wife's like, oh, I can tell. She can though. I don't know. She's some kind of witch. It's okay. But you know, and then gay men, right? There was actually like some documentary a gay dude did, like a little movie about, you know, gay voice, that gay men, well, not all, but a lot of gay men have a type of voice, a type of cadence, a type of way of speaking that's gay, and a lot of gay men seem to have that, and it starts very young. So like when I think of femininity and masculinity, I kind of think more along those lines. It is more kind of an energy, and I guess if you could pinpoint anything, it would be speech patterns and mannerisms. But if we could talk about that as a gender, and I think that's okay. And then but we have to go from there, right? We can't, it frustrates me when a lot of people will say things like, oh, the whole idea of gender is bullshit. It's all a lie. Like, you know, and I don't think that's true. I mean, I don't feel that's true for myself. I really do feel like I was born more masculine than other women, generally. Not all of them. There's some like me, but I'm a minority, and it started really early. What is that? We don't really know, but to act like it doesn't exist is silly because people pick up on it all the time. I could, you know, at one time as a joke, my wife was looking for a party dress for a Christmas party, and my wife's femme. And I went to the dressing room with her and picked out she had this big sparkly ball gown or whatever, and she got me my size, and she was like, put this on. I want to see you in it. I put it on, and I tell you, I looked like I was in drag. It was just the most ridiculous thing in the world. But it does leave you asking, what about it made me look like I was in drag? Because I am female. I don't know, it's just interesting to think about these things. But I think femininity and masculinity is something that exists outside of sex. And if we think it doesn't, I think we're just being ignorant of like what we see with our own eyes. Anyway, that's my input about the grain of truth in trans ideology that we should acknowledge in order to kind of combat how toxic trans ideology really is by telling people because they might be more masculine and feminine than the majority of their sex means they're not that sex. Difference is good.